Hi, guys. My name is Theon Sims, and welcome to the Limitless podcast. Joining us, as always, is your co host, Dr. Matthew Preston. Hail up the people, and Matthew.
Hey guys, what's good?
Lovely. So, 3 years Limitless. How you feeling, Preston? This is a very special episode. A very special episode. This is our episode, our 3-year anniversary of doing this, a podcast series.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Big up. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. No, I appreciate each and every one of you. Preston and I were just talking before, off air, and we were just reminiscing on how far we've actually come with this.
Yeah, it's crazy. 3 years.
3 years flew by quickly.
Damn, we're getting old.
I get old for you, but yeah. I don't know. What do you have to say, Preston?
Yeah, I'd say it's been quite the journey so far. Doubt that, when we started, I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna do this for 3 years. I didn't really know. I didn't really have that set in mind. I was just like, hey, let's just do this.
Yeah.
And we've done a lot. I mean, we make some mistakes along the way, learn some lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a fun time. I'd say.
Yeah.
And I hope that people feel the same way, or viewers. Big up.
Yeah, I would say a heartfelt thanks to all our listeners, right? You guys have been the reason why we continue doing this in the first place. We're now over 1,000 subscribers, which is insane to me. The fact that it's just growing tremendously. Now we're at 1,300 and we just got 1,000 the other day. So I know that may seem small to others in the grand scheme of things, but we don't care. It's kind of crazy to see that many people like our content. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for commenting, whoever has commented on our videos in the past, liking, subscribing. We appreciate each and every one of you guys. All right. And so I guess for this special episode, it's more a bit laid back. We will talk about obviously the market. Yeah, we can't leave out the market, of course. But yeah, it's just insane to see. Preston, how far have we? I don't know if you have any like growth metrics and so on. I remember back in the day, we have some people that listen to us from other places, not just Jamaica. Big up all the Jamaicans, of course. But we have some listeners in Cayman. We have some listeners in Trinidad.
Yes.
Yeah, we have some listeners all over the.
So we have listeners from Oceania.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow,
Oceania, Asia, the motherland, Africa.
Wow. Big up.
Yeah.
Big up everybody.
All over the world.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So, yeah, we wouldn't be here without you guys, is really what we're saying. Do you remember how we started this podcast? You remember what, like, the thought process? What we were going through at the time? Because the market was not great when we started this. You realize that?
It was 2022.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had a lot of free time. I had switched up, and I was like, okay, I need to get obsessed with something next.
Yeah.
And I think you like suggested it or something. You're like, hey, why don't we, like, you messaged me and say, why don't we start a podcast or something like that. I think it was, we had probably done the episodes or the episode series with
Samantha, the layman's doctor.
That was technically the first, because didn't we did 2 episodes with her, right? Or you did like 3 or something.
I did at least 2. I remember doing at least 2. And we were on 1.
It was just 1 we were both on.
Yeah, we were on 1. I don't know if that episode was split up, but it was
like
one recording.
I feel like what we should do, I'll try to link that episode in the description, and guys comment, like, if I forget, comment to remind me. Yeah, I think we had done a podcast with her.
Pick up Sam. Anyway, she did.
And then maybe we liked the podcast and we're like, oh, yo, we should try that.
I think Samantha was also pushing it. We liked it. I remember us liking it, and it's because we used to teach, so it kind of felt a bit. It didn't feel too foreign. I wouldn't say it felt natural, because I was still very nervous. Now I'm not as nervous coming on like camera, mic, have my little ring light and all of them things.
Influencer.
Now I don't really care. You realize that content creators should just accept that, You really and truly just no business what other people think, what other people say, because there will always be negativity. No matter what, there will always be negativity, right? But don't matter, because at least if for me personally, if at least one person likes the content, I'm making content not just for them but for myself as well. But if at least one person, if I have one viewer, I'm releasing that. Even if I have no viewers, it don't matter. It's still always fun. It's always a fun process chatting with you about the market and so on.
So you would be, how like some streamers, I don't know if people, well, I know you watch Twitch and YouTube streamers, and there's some huge streamers that have like they can get like 10,000 views live, 10,000 people watching live, and maintain that for like hours.
Yeah.
And a lot of those streamers at one point, like they only had one viewer, and they were still sometimes streaming, and they're like, yo, it's just this one person. I'm going to start grinding and changing up. And then they just kept grinding and grinding. Then they changed up stuff, and then they just, so.
They eventually became Speed or Kai Cenat, Yeah. I think I don't know if you're saying that, if this is your sign, if you guys have ever wanted to start a podcast, start it. Yeah, I mean, unless you're talking about women, then don't. The man, just don't. That's always a red flag, right? But outside of that, though, if you want to start, definitely start. Definitely start. And it's simple, right? I think the most expensive equipment I have is my mic. You realize that? I think yours might be your headphones. Mine is the podcast mic. And I guess now I use my phone as a camera. Yeah, you can just create content anywhere. I'm actually in Catalyst's privacy pod right now. Pick up Catalyst in their Catalyst campus. It's a co-working space, pretty nice. And yeah, I can't even hear music is blaring outside, and I can't hear anything. So this works.
Nice.
So, yeah. But yeah, bro, let's actually get into the meat of the matter. I want to do some throwbacks. Maybe we should do a giveaway as well. I think we should do a giveaway, to one of our viewers.
What would they want?
I don't know. What do the people want? Well, we are working on merch. I feel like we could give away some merch if you live in Jamaica. If you live abroad, boy, it's go hard. But if you live in Jamaica,
give away a shirt, maybe.
Yeah, we could give away a shirt. Let's do that.
I wonder what we should. Trying to think what we should ask the viewers to do.
I think it should be random though, so that a random person, anybody can win. How about we?
I can probably make a link.
Yeah, let's make a link. Let's just do a rally. Let's make a link. Guys, if you fill out this link, that's going to be at the top of the description. You get a chance to win Limitless merch. The first ever Limitless merch. First ever. All right, we've never done merch before, so this is going to be pretty exciting. You're going to have the exact same shirt as us. But yeah, for that special person. So freeness, if you like that, link in the description. Now, Preston, let's go back to some of our, over this year, I think 2024 to 2025, this entire year has been really good to us. Whether it's, when I'm talking about podcasts, though, I think this is where we really experience proper growth. So I want you to talk to me about an episode that you like. And I think we're going to do guests. Who was your favorite guest interview? Not your favorite guest. The interview itself. Who did you enjoy interviewing? Who did you like their stories? Who did you resonate with the most?
That's a good question. So I would probably say Jeff Hall. Jeffrey Hall.
Jeffrey Hall. Why?
I said that. I like some of the plays he was talking about, like when he was talking about how they turned around the coffee company.
Yeah, that was such a good
What was the name of the company again?
I can't remember.
Yeah, but they bought it for the company that he was working with. They bought it for say $1 million US, and then I think it was making losses, and then they just turned it around in 2 years, and then sold it for 5 or I don't know 10x or something times the amount of money.
It was multiples.
In a short time too.
He gave a lot of good advice in that too. I remember I was talking about wanting to open up a US bank account and so on. And something that resonated with me with what he said, because that's one of my favorite episodes too. Right. You guys can find it. It's from Lawyer to CEO, Jeffrey Hall's Inspiring Career Path. He said, why not figure out, because it was to accumulate, to build credit. That's why I wanted a US account. I wanted to build credit over there. And he was like, yo, why don't you, a smarter way would be to just figure out how to get credit here in Jamaica and access to capital here, and then do something where, I remember it was something like build out a complex for other doctors to be working for. Like, and at that point, there's something that a lot of entrepreneurs in Jamaica push, and they push Jamaica heavily. Right? They're for Jamaica, they're for the growth of Jamaica, building the companies, doing a lot of good for the country, because a lot of Jamaicans tend to migrate. They think that the only opportunity to get to a certain level is to migrate, is to leave Jamaica. And while that may be the case for some people, yes, and that might be their best, I don't want to say exit, more like a path, their best path to success. There are other paths, and there are multiple paths. So we shouldn't like burn out Jamaica. And I like that that he said, because that made me start thinking about how I view my future. Do I build here? Do I go abroad and build for somebody else? It just got me thinking. So I really did like that episode as well. Yeah. I think my
pick him up.
favorite guest episode was that one, but if it wasn't, my second would have probably been with William Mahfood. Yes, I think that episode was really good in the past year. I thought he gave a lot of insight into the Wisinko story. He was talking about, just how they came up with the name, to how Cranwater was born. Imagine you just thirsty after playing, I think he was playing squash or tennis. I think it was squash though. And he just wanted a flavored drink, and he would like make a flavored drink, and he was just like, yo, there has to be like a flavored, refreshing type of drink after he played. And then he just made Cranwater, and boom. Or the water story, how water blew up was after Hurricane Ivan. And, it was because Catherine's Peak had almost like a monopoly at the time. And it was blocked access to Catherine's Peak, so people couldn't access that, and people needed water at the time. So water just blew up overnight. Success. And so that got me thinking, success is not linear. Success is there's a point where there's like this inflection point where it does become exponential, but that only comes with consistency, with discipline. And so I learned that valuable lesson. I thought that was a really, really good episode. So yeah, I think that was one of my favorite guest episodes as well.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had some really good guests, yo. We even had Kalilah on the show. That was little bit over a year ago. I think that was March 2024.
Really?
Yeah.
It was 2024 we did it?
Yeah. Yo, time flies, bro. Time flies. Yeah, we had Kalilah on the show. Queen of Finance, I think, is the title. That was a cool episode too, because she gave a lot of insights into her. Firstly, Kalilah is a goat. Big up yourself, Kalilah. She, I would say, spearheads finance in Jamaica and coming out of Jamaica at this point in time, right? So she kind of paved the way for a lot of people, even some people like us, where a lot of our content speaks to the JSE and stocks. And she gave a lot of insight into her business. She was even speaking about why her business wasn't doing so well at the time. Don't know what it is like now. We should have a chat with her in the future. But yeah, it was a real, like, I could connect with her in that episode. And she speaks about how she even makes content, right? The things she does, the whispering, getting close to the camera and all of those kind of stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, she was really generous with her time too. So that was a good episode.
That was a fun episode too.
Yeah.
That was a fun episode.
Speaking of generous with her time, we interviewed Dr. Marlene Street Forrest. That was huge.
Yeah, the Dr. Street Forrest one was really nice, yeah.
Yeah. For those who, I don't know if anyone doesn't know of Dr. Street Forrest.
I feel like probably most people who would, if you don't invest, you probably wouldn't know her.
She helped.
What did you say? managing director of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. She has run it for probably the last 10 years or so, or maybe 5-10 years.
Oh, way more than that.
More?
Yeah, I think it's more than that for sure. But
Yeah.
she's built the JSC for the past decade. So yeah, I thought that was a really good episode as well. Just her story, her background was humble as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even the one with Demetress was cool too.
Mhm.
I think the fun part of a lot of these episodes is not even just the episode, but even after. I remember we finished recording Demetress's episode, which was really good. Really good. You guys should
Mhm.
check that one out. All right. After the conversations after were just hilarious. And we even got
Whatever, like
into
anime or something.
yeah, we even got into anime afterwards. Because we ended the episode with talking about anime. So I was like, wow, this guy is just like a real youth. He's literally like a youth like one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool too. I like that episode.
Mhm. Trying to think of
Another
another.
guest. That was good.
No, I was thinking just to go to other episodes, like okay, non-guest episode, just like me and you.
Actually, what was your favorite stock to review from Tickers? So Tickers was our new series. We launched Tickers when sometime last year.
Yeah.
Our first Tickers was Edufocal. That was June 14, 2024. What was your favorite Tickers
Trying
to
to think which type of favorite though. Like you're saying
true?
favorite to.
Which stock was your favorite to research? Is that a hard question?
I'm going through them in my head. Favorite? That's not hard. Ask. I noticed that I've got better over time.
Yeah.
So
Doing the episodes really helps. Yeah,
yeah.
analysis. And I think for me, we do it so quickly now
Mm-hmm.
because I think when I first did my first Tickers,
Mm-hmm.
it used to take me hours to research and compile a lot. I mean, it still takes hours sometimes, of course. But it used to take like days worth of like work. 'Cause
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people understand how much work it takes to research the content, go through a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of the financial statements, comb through Gleaner articles and news articles and JC releases and things on like My Money JA and all of these other websites and so on through the company's websites, and then to create a presentation to present. It does take some time, but I will say we have gotten
Mm-hmm.
better at it, and we have
Yeah.
decreased the time it takes to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
I
which one
would
is my
say,
favorite.
yeah, I think I know my favorite. So my favorite one was Grace Kennedy, or
Mm,
GK, ticker as GK. I think
why?
what I liked, yeah, I was saying what I liked about that one. That was one of the first ones that I started looking at some stuff on the US market specifically for. One of the things I liked about that episode, because GK was planning or says that they want to list on an overseas stock exchange, and I was like, okay, that's gonna be, or that could be something huge. So it could be them raising a huge amount of money. It could be like, oh, the most amount of money a Jamaican company has ever raised in a single,
Yeah.
or at least maybe through issuing or creating shares, selling a piece of the business. And I looked up, there was like an IPO of this other company. I think it's like a Mexican company or something. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
like BBB Foods. We can try to link the full episode because then people could just see it. But I remember I was starting to try to expand my, what would you say? So try to include more information or start to look international news and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I remember looking that up and I was like, oh wow, this has happened before. Another company has listed. This is like the price it came at. This was the metric. So it's like you could include that in your comparison model. So you could say, okay, this is an example of what happens with an ethnic, what they call ethnic food company list. And it would say I think the share price had gone up like maybe 30%, 50%, something like that. It had gone up, and I was like, okay, that could happen to GK. What would be like some of the similarities or differences between those two? Like, is GK more profitable? Is GK putting out more cash? Is GK doing? Is it growing even more than this? And is it financially even better? So it's like, okay, if that company did that and this one's even better, maybe it could even go up more and that kind of stuff. And I've been trying to do that more. So I started looking at other things like with JMMB. They are listed in Jamaica. They're a public company. And they have their stake in Sagicor from Canada, which is like, the Sagicor that owns all the Sagicors across the world. Like,
SFC,
Sagicor is or Sagicor, Canada,
Financial Corporation, I
Sagicor
think.
Caribbean,
Yeah.
Jamaica or whatever, like different. I think they're in the US, Canada. Yeah. So that, like, I'm like, okay, because then I'm trying to track it to say, okay, if that company that JMMB has that stake in, or they own some piece of, what if that company were to do something just, amazing, and then maybe there's a lag between the time that it reaches our market, because what if people don't write articles about it, or there's like, information, we call it information arbitrage or something like that. So I've been trying to do that more and more. It's weird because you go through like this phase of, okay, you start reading the news, but then there's like just so much in the US. When I look at some of these, have you ever looked at Yahoo Finance?
Yeah, to look at other companies.
Yeah, but just even how the page is set up
And the
like the
information is
news. I
laid
feel like
out.
I'm just looking at it. I'm just like, people do this. Like, I don't know. It just, hold on. Maybe I should share my screen so you can see. You should be seeing now.
Oh yeah.
So you look at this. Trump open to phenomenal tariff deals. Says rollout going very well. And it's Trump's big bill of tax breaks and spending cuts amid tariff uproar. And it's just Trump this, and it's like all of these
well, I mean,
stuff.
today he really and truly did a lot. Like, he just released the tariffs. I think that was yesterday. The imposed on all these different
Yeah, I think we got I think 10%, but then there's a
exports.
general 10% already. So it's like, in total, I think anyone importing Jamaican products is gonna have to 20% more.
Yeah.
To import it.
It's just, yeah, it's kind of crazy when he meant it.
Yeah,
Because
but I don't know.
I was thinking, yo, I'm so glad I just bought like this laptop, because if I were to buy this laptop like tomorrow and you calculate the tariffs on top of that, I would be paying
Do you think that
significant.
Apple would really raise prices though?
Depends on where you're buying it from. Because remember,
I feel like,
if the tariff is on, oh well, is it reciprocal? It is reciprocal, isn't it?
I was thinking that with Apple, I think they have, well, I could probably check, but I assume that they have quite high profit margins. Everyone knows Apple products are quite expensive, I'd say. And I think they've been getting a lot of efficiencies because they've been moving more of the parts of their phone, like they are manufacturing it themselves versus having Intel or Qualcomm or some other company. Like, instead of having to pay that out, they build it themselves. So I suspect that they have margins to absorb the cost still. But I guess we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, because a lot of it really and truly is goods just imported into the US from countries like China, India, Vietnam, so yeah. But I think the increased cost, I mean, that's going to be passed on to consumers globally, so it's higher prices for a bunch of different things. I don't know how a lot of these, do you think that a lot of these countries now are going to be less reliant on US goods, seeing that a lot, because even right now, I don't know if you've seen what's the biggest, newest car brand right now? The car brand that's causing a lot of buzz in the space.
Jetor?
Exactly. The first car brand you think of right now, right? Like, it's well, maybe not the first, but on my prompting a while ago, you think Jetor. That's a Chinese brand, and that's penetrated that car market space tremendously. So I think the competition is good for a lot of other countries, and it's just there are still companies that can take advantage of this. Like, okay, if I'm a Jamaican company, and my major um customer base is in the US, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not an opportunity for you to also now diversify your customers. You're getting less demand from the US because your goods are that much more expensive to US citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it can, for the astute investor, right? Whether you're a businessman or an actual investor,
Mm-hmm.
you guys will know how to navigate because there will always be opportunity. There's a massive sell off right now on the Nasdaq, right? I think about, was it like 4% of the S&P 500 got, you know, it went down by 4%. That's like,
Mm-hmm.
those are trillions of dollars that just got wiped off that market, the Nasdaq itself. So when you met that, some people think opportunity, and some people think, yo, maybe I should sell. I'm pretty sure some whales are
Mm-hmm.
buying right now. So yeah, that's something this doing this podcast has taught me because I used to look at a lot of negative press and so on as, you know, you think, I'm done with that stock, or this don't make no sense, or so on. But that's when companies look very attractive to me now. When there's
Mm-hmm.
like a big sell off in a lot of these companies, and I think that's, for me, that's a testament to the Limitless podcast, because otherwise I wouldn't have the stomach to be able to be buying when everybody else is selling. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think my favorite Tickers episode, though, I should just say it, is actually
Mm-hmm.
Transjam, and the reason is, it's not a big or elaborate reason, but it's because
Mm-hmm.
people kept reaching out to me saying, "Yo, that's a really good episode. Yo, Theron, what did you think of this, that, that?" I got a lot of feedback from that Transjam episode. So
Mm-hmm.
that's probably why it's my favorite, because I think it impacted a lot of people. Also got a
Mm-hmm.
lot of views from that episode as well. People seem to love Trans
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica Highway.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I like that episode. It was fun doing and fun hearing other people's thoughts and opinions on the episode, on the stock itself. Yes, if you see me in public, I guess you can draw me away and ask me about stocks, but I'm not tell you what to buy, because we are not licensed financial advisors. Have to hit them with that, have
Come
to.
on, bro. It's just
We
me.
should we
Just
should
tell me,
do
bro.
we should do a shirt. NFA.
Yeah.
NFA,
NFA.
not
NFA.
not financial advice. No, 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 not financial advice. Guys, look out for the Limitless merch. It's
Boy.
coming. It's coming. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, bro. Any other episodes you liked? What do you
Mm,
think? What was our best performing episode?
that would be Stocks to Watch with Top Striker Shan.
Pick
I
up
think that was, yeah, that
Shanice.
was.
How did I not put her in like one of my favorite guests? Love Shanice. Love Shanice. Shanice and I were actually in Trinidad the other day. Yo, big up Shanice always. Like, her episodes are so fun and they're so real. Shanice a real top striker.
It's funny though, because do you remember like some of the conversations we had on the episode?
Yeah,
I think that
like
some of
some
the
of the stocks.
stocks, yeah, like I'm looking. You remember like how we were talking about mail pack,
Yes,
and you were like, "Hey, I'm not really." I told you guys that
you're
I
feeling
wasn't
milk.
really feeling mail pack as a play. I was like, I'm not really seeing it as a play. Well, at the time and the
Mm-hmm.
price that we were getting it at then, I think this was like in December, so I think the price was like maybe $2.60 or $2.70, and currently it's $2.39, and
Mm,
their quarter four, which is the quarter everyone thinks is going to be so good. The revenues were up a lot. Revenues were up 77%, but profits were up 23%, and I don't think it wasn't enough to really excite people. Like, people, I
and
think, wanted to see more.
they're now paying taxes. You're now
Yeah, I
going
think that
to be
was
paying tax.
they
Yeah.
started paying because they lost what they were in the first 5 years after they became a public company and listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and they for the first 5 years when they listed on the junior market specifically, they didn't have to pay any income tax or corporate income tax or business income tax. And then now they're going to only pay half tax, which would be what 12.5% of the profits
For the next 5 years.
for the next 5 years. Yeah. So it's like before they were saving 25% on their money for the first 5 years, and now they're only going to save 12.5%. So they're going to be saving
Yeah.
less money, and to commit them make less money too. But yeah, because I remember, I
Because we
think because
were
that was,
excited about the acquisition. because they acquired
Eh,
my card.
yeah.
My card
I'm just saying I
Express.
wasn't. I mean, well, it's funny because I could say this now. And what if 6 months time meal
Yeah.
packs at $4?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so though.
I guess we'll see. I don't think so. I'm not as optimistic either.
Is Amazon gonna take over?
Well, you're shipping free things to your house, so are they?
Yeah. Well,
It's not every package.
it actually needs to.
Yeah. My friends have shipped a lot to them to their houses still, and
How long did it take?
my friend said 6 days.
Oh,
One,
mine
her
is.
first time was like 4 days.
Wow. I
Yeah.
think mine is longer though. This one it was like a. It said I think it was almost probably 2 weeks.
Mm.
Probably gonna be even a little more maybe. So we'll see.
Oh,
Maybe we should do a video on that. But
yeah.
yeah, I think what else we talked about meal pack on that episode. Which other
Did we
ones did we
talk
talk
about
about?
indies?
Yeah, I think so.
I feel
Has
like we
much really
spoke about
changed with indies then?
the price has gone up because at
Oh.
that time I think indies was like 320, 330s. I think the other
Mm.
day it hit $4. It was like traded above $4, like 420 or something like that.
Oh.
But that was around the dividend. That was like last week or this week. It was end of quarter. There's a dividend in it as well. There were a bunch of things going right with indies at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think one of the things we should even get into would be some of the lessons
Real
that
talk.
we learned. Yeah, because I was just trying to think. I mean, I think I've definitely learned a lot. And I think one of the things I would even say why I'm happy I started investing this way is that I think investing just teaches you it teaches you a lot about life.
Yeah.
Because you start to see that, okay, it's not just buying stock. It's like you have to try to think of, okay, my health. You know, they say, what's that saying about like health is wealth? You have to think like, hey, if you don't invest in your body or you don't eat a certain way, you don't exercise, you don't get sleep, handle your stress, that's like you not investing in yourself. And so I think, yeah, just it's definitely a lot. Like there's something like I was even mentioning the other day about how like do people ever ask you or has anyone ever asked you like what you love most about like investing or something? Not just why you invest, but what do you love most about it? Because I mean there's a lot of things I guess I like about it. But like one of the things I was even thinking about it's like I like the challenge and I like challenging myself because like I was thinking about like when people ask you about risk and they say, hey, like what if I'm telling my friend, I've made this investment, I bought this company, this is why I bought it. But then it's like they could say, oh, but what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And I'm like, yeah, those things could happen. But what's the actual likelihood of it? Or what do I believe is the likelihood of it? Even if that were to happen, would it really be the end of the world? Like, and you understand that, okay, there is always risk, but there'll be risk in anything. So it's like people don't realize, for example, that every day you get up, you're taking risks in some ways because you say you drive in Jamaica, people drive like taxis or cars or whatever. Every day you're getting up, people don't want to say it, but there is a risk that, an accident or something could happen. There's always that risk, but we don't drive. Well, it's not like if someone wants to drive, they're going to drive, even though there's that risk because they can do things to mitigate that risk or that will.
You could wear a seatbelt.
Wearing a seatbelt or
drive defensively.
Yeah. So there's things you can do to swing your odds in a way. And there's some things that you just can't. There's some things that you can't avoid. Like it's not always going to be like something bad could happen. And it's not your fault. You did the right thing,
Yeah.
And there's just this whole understanding of risk, or I even think about how, so I don't know if you remember this. We'll even see if we put this in. Do you remember our, I think, second year of medical school semester 2? Do you remember the big course, the one that's like most of your GPA then?
Neuro science.
Yeah. Neuro 2, right?
Neuro 2, neuroscience 2.
Yeah. And I remembered it was like a course that I don't know if a lot of people failed it, but it was a lot of information.
It was a lot of information.
There's all of these, it's a task that everyone says, oh, this is hard, right?
Yep.
But then there is a way that you can try to approach it that you can swing the odds, I guess, in your favor. You can't swing it completely in your odds because something could happen, and that only happens that's never happened before. It was like almost like a black swan event or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And things could not work out. You couldn't do well, but then you can do things that can kind of swing your odds in your favor. So I remember we had looked, or I don't know if I had told you, but I remember the course coordinator there was like a new course coordinator.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yes.
And then the course coordinator, I think in the past, did what was known as, I think, physiology. I think it was like physiology.
Yeah.
Which is like the normal functioning of, the brain and whatever, and spinal cord. But then the course coordinator switched to a person who's a pharmacologist.
Yes.
And I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that. I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then I saw, or I believe what I saw was like an association between who the course coordinator was
And how
and
heavily
then how
weighted.
the exam kind of set up. I guess maybe they have some sort of say. I don't know for sure. Never spoke to these people.
But yeah,
I had a hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, what if this thing that everyone focuses on, it's actually not the most important thing? And I'm going to focus on this thing.
Mm-hmm. And we started medicine pharmacology very hard. We were teaching each other the pharmacology. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so...
and then so said, so done. The exam
when the exam came,
and the pharmacology questions breed everybody. Except us. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that because we went over pharmacology like so hard. We were teaching each other pharmacology of neuropharmacology, and I was just like, I hated it by the way. Disliked neuropharm, but I got it really good. But like, I hated it. Neuroanatomy was a lot. Everyone was focusing on that. And then everyone started focusing on physiology. But they've never met certain things you do leave behind. And you're right. That's a good lesson to learn. I think one of my lessons. Oh, sorry, you were saying?
What I was saying was that whole thing of you kind of, I guess, what would you say? You're weighing chances. Like you have theories. You won't always be right, but sometimes when you're right, it can work out really well. What if I was wrong and it was weighted the same way? It wasn't like I didn't know any of the other stuff. I knew those stuff decently, but it's just I knew that thing better. So it's like when the odds were weighed in my favor.
It was a 9-credit course, and that really pulled our GPAs up. That pulled our GPAs up because I remember I think I did endocrine. Endocrine was probably my only mid-grade at that point. But it never mattered because endocrine was like 2 credits and neuro was 9 credits. And getting an A in neuro and a B in endocrine really didn't matter that I got the B in endocrine. So, yeah.
But it's just stuff like that. Like when you do that and you walk out and you're like, okay, I passed. Like,
drop mic.
You just, it's the same way that I see that as investing. Because I mean, if you didn't pass, you have you're investing in yourself, your knowledge. So you
allocate the time to study the thing that
your finite resource effectively. Yeah.
Investing isn't everything.
Yeah. So
for me,
I would say like it's like the game of it, the thrill, like the kind. I'm also like competitive as hell.
Yeah.
Like I'm so competitive, bro.
That's our problem. It is our problem. It's to the point where it is our problem, actually.
Yeah. You said about the was it last week?
Pardon me?
It's last week where I did the crazy thing.
Yeah.
It was last week. Okay.
You have a problem.
Yeah.
But I rate it, and it's got us this far. But I will say
I shouldn't say what it is, should I?
If you want, your choice. Your choice. But what I will say is, for me personally, the lesson I learned the most is there's a saying actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's bears make money, wolves make money, pigs get slaughtered. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that I think has carried me throughout this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember there's this one trade in particular, almost all my money was in this trade, right? Like it was, I would say about 70% of my portfolio
When was this?
was in this play earlier this year. Was it earlier this year or last year? I think it was probably last year. It was Wigton though, bro. It was
Uh-huh.
Wigton. And I was in Wigton and my average price was $1.06. I'll never forget this. And I was buying, no, it was like $1.10 because I kept buying up.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Jermaine like I was aiming for 20%. I think I said it
Mm-hmm.
on, I don't know if it was, I don't know where we said it,
Mm-hmm.
but it was, I feel like I said it publicly too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was in the Demetress episode. I was aiming for 20%. And
Mm-hmm.
I jumped out more than 20%. In all, I jumped out, I think it was 29% after fees.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how much I made off of that trade.
Mm-hmm.
Best believe after, Jermaine was just like, oh, they are only in it for this. I thought you guys only go for like big gains and this and that. And I said, yo. And he was saying, you sure? I was like, yeah, I'm sure. But then I started to meditate and I'm like, am I missing something? And then the stock continued to fly. That was the
Mm.
problem. The stock flew to almost like $1.70 or so. And I remember entering
Oh, wow.
at $1.50 again. So imagine selling at about $1, almost
Damn.
$1.40, right? About $1.40. Entering
Mm-hmm.
again $1.50, right?
So you're up probably like, hold on, how much percent is that?
I remember doing the calculations. It was about 29. It was like 28 point high percent after fees.
Oh, yeah, nice. Okay.
So I'm up there. So, and then I buy it now like $1.50s, like $1.50.
Mm-hmm.
And I see the stock go up to $1. And I'm like, yo, the stock is going $2. To the moon. And then the stock hits like 170 something and then plummets, literally plummets. Thankfully, I didn't put in as much of my portfolio. This was more like 20%. Now, if I had 70% in, I only put in like 20% in this trade because I'm like, yo, you can
Oh,
squeeze
so
out
you
the
made a
come up.
loss on the way back down.
Yeah, so I sold
Oh.
everything in $1.40s region because it traded down to like
Well, I mean,
135 and then I sold at 140s.
it's
So it wasn't a
probably
terrible
at a lower
loss.
price now.
Yeah,
So
it's a much lower price now.
how much
Cha-ching.
is it? Is it much lower? Hold on.
Yeah, it's like 120s again. I think it went below that.
$1.23. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that just taught me, yo, Theon, don't
Mm.
meds anybody else, bro. You're in it. This is your goal. You hit
We said
it.
don't be
Move
greedy.
on. Unless it go back down, or unless you have to analyze it properly and be like, yo,
Uh-huh.
is this actually going $2, or am I just?
The thing is, your margins on that would have been kind of, because what was your plan was to buy at, you bought at 150 and then you'd sell at what price?
I'd sell at like 180 high. I don't know, maybe 185.
Okay, you're using $2 as like a
Yeah, so I said if it's going
psychological.
$2, I must can get out before that.
Oh,
If it's
but you
approaching,
meant you meant someone could have been thinking that and selling you at the 150. They were
yeah.
like, yeah, man, I think it can go 180, so go sell it at 150.
And you know what the worst part is? I remember why my thought process was sound because it's Mayberry stock. Like no matter how you look at it, Mayberry is like the number one. I think number one shareholder of Wheaton right now. So and it was it was approaching the end of a quarter or something like that, but it wasn't the final day of the quarter. So I'm like, yo, we have time. I think we had like 2 more days. It's like, yeah, man, this I go at $2. This is Berry stock. This is to the moon. And it didn't end up doing that. So it taught me a valuable lesson, bro. It's just like, yo, honestly, this is what you thought the stock could do in this time period. Don't get greedy. All right. You've made your winnings. Yes, reassess. But don't let don't let the fact that the stock price is rising so quickly and so on, don't let emotions cloud your judgment. Because if I really thought about it, I would have taken a lot of that money and just invested it elsewhere. And now I think it was a little bit more than a 10% loss on it. I bought at 150. My average price was probably like 153 or so on, and I sold at 140. like 140, like 141, 140.
Mm.
I think it was 140, would have been 140 after fees.
So you
So I
think the
lost.
lesson from there was what you're saying? Stick to your goal.
Stick to your goal. And if
Mm.
even if you hit your goal and so on, yes, you can reassess.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me at that time, I know emotions were clouding my judgment because other
Mm.
people, it was like a lot of external factors. When
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy was just asking those questions, and then some of my
Mm-hmm.
other brethren were like, "Yo, in a Wigton, this I got this, that, that." I'm gonna say, maybe I
Mm.
should actually buy back. Yeah, it was a
The
lot
other
of
thing I'm
external
thinking of
factors.
though, I do agree that okay, that may have been an issue too, but I'm also like if you're there could be another lesson where when you're that type of play, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was in response to the announcement that they were going to be able to build a project, a solar farm that would allow them to make like 80% more in revenues or sales. They'd produce way more electricity and
Yeah,
they could sell it, and they could sell way more electricity and make more money. With that, it's like when the news is announced, I'm trying to even think like how far into the news announcement you are buying. Because if it's like the news announcement
I bought before the news announcement.
well, sorry, not well, no, I'm saying when you bought back in. So I'm
Oh,
saying I'm not saying yo, you should never like for example, you could have bought at see you said you bought at like $1
a
and you
dollar.
sold
Yeah, $1.06, I think.
to make it easy, let's just say you bought it at $1
Mm-hmm.
and you sold it at say 120. So you just say, okay, that's 20%. Right? You made 20% return on your money. What I'm saying is that if you then saw it at 130, 140, technically there is a profit point. Well, this is I guess using the what has happened. You're saying it ended up hitting like 160 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So technically if you had bought at say 140 and you had sold at 160, then that could have been a profitable play for you. Yes, you wouldn't have made as much because you essentially lost part of that gain. It's like you bought, sold, and bought back in.
Yeah,
But I'm just thinking that you need to kind of understand more that price movement and even like the risk that you're taking on. Like that's a much, much harder play, I'd say, because that's
definitely.
the kind of thing where I would suggest if you that would be like a if I were to probably do something like that, it would probably be where I'd be trying to watch the queue, and then that's not really your style in terms of like how your lifestyle is set up. So I
Yeah,
think that because like for example, if you're watching a queue, maybe you could have seen, oh wait, a lot of sellers are starting to drop, and I'll start watching it, and he's like, oh no, and then maybe it'll jump out or something. I don't know. I think it's
yeah,
maybe
true.
also knowing the type of investment or investor you are and kind of your time. Because like there was even something else I was thinking that I have learned and I've been trying to do more. So say I'm trying to think of like a real life or okay, so say you buy a stock or you buy a company, you're like, okay, I own part of this company, and or no, say you're looking to buy a company or you're looking at different companies to buy. So you say, yeah, I'm looking at this company, I'm looking at this company, I'm looking at Grace, I'm looking at Wisynco, I'm looking at Separate, I'm looking at NCB, right? And maybe when you're looking at them, you do your analysis, you read the documents, you read the paper, you go on the website, blah, blah, blah. You say, okay, I'm thinking of buying one of these, but say you're looking at NCB and you're like, hey, for NCB, what would make me buy it is that Leachin would have to just sell his stake in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And because I thought that, oh, that would, if it's announced that NCB is being sold or Leachin's stake in NCB is being sold or is being sold to Bank of America or some big bank, and people like the bank, it'd be like, oh my gosh, and they think that that could send the share price flying. It's like instead of, for example, waiting for that, and so you're like, okay, I'm going to wait for that to happen and then I'm going to buy, right? It's like sometimes I'm learning that to make the greater gains, sometimes you'll have to just buy earlier. You have to be the person who buys without knowing it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And you could be the seller. You could be selling it to the shares to the people when it actually happens or if it actually happens. So you're taking on that risk because that gives you, that's your profit point or your
exit.
and you're trying to predict the chance of that happening, I guess.
Yeah,
So I'm starting to think like that. So
which
it's
was
like
the reason
going
for the play.
into
That was the reason for the Wigton play
yeah. So
because
you were
I bought Wigton because I knew they were shortlisted. They already announced it. They were shortlisted for that bid. And so you'd have to really mess up to not. You're already shortlisted. It's just two of you guys shortlisted, right? So you'd have to really mess up to actually. It wasn't two. How many people on the shortlist? Well,
so it's technically, so they split it up.
But they ranked it.
I don't know about ranking. I just remember there was like say there was a person, the first person who won the 50 megawatts. So say that was Wigton. You're pre-awarded. There was a runner-up to them. And then there was another person, Suntero.
That's what I said.
And then there was a runner-up.
The rankings. Yeah.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah, because you had at that point we kind of know that Wigton, it's likely, it's really likely that they're gonna get this. So you buy in anticipation of that, and you wait until everybody else find out, say, oh, them actually get the money for this, or they won the bid, not get the money, they won the bid.
Yeah.
For about 50 megawatts, but you take on that risk. You're like, yo, if they don't get it, yes, the share price can tank, but if they get it, and it's likely that they get it, then
so it's like, okay, what if the share price would fly 30% if they get it, but only go down 10% if they don't get it?
Exactly.
Are those odds you'd want to take?
And that's literally the thought process. And I was just like, yeah, I'll take those odds. Little did I know it would send it up 50, 60%.
Yeah, it was quite.
Yeah,
it's funny because it's a 80%. I'd use this as like a rough estimate. So if there's a big, say, increase in revenues or profits, I say, the share price would likely fly less than it possibly increases. So with that was 80% in revenues, and then you're saying it flew. What price is that? It was like what, $1.10 to what? 160 or something?
Say one.
That's like 40%. Yeah. So it's like, okay, 80% increase in revenue flies 40%, half.
I mean, you came up with the 80% increase in revenues just based on the prospect of the revenues increasing by 80%.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the expectation of that. Yeah. So that was some stuff. And like, even like, you remember CPJ? Yeah. I remember what I learned from that. Like back when.
Which part about CPJ?
Back when CPJ, was it 2022, when like, it flew up to its all-time high, $20+. Like, I remembered months before, I could have bought it at like maybe all $5 or a little below that. And
we were medicine CPJ when it was $3 something or $4.
There was someone that actually, like, they were like, hey, maybe they should buy it. But then I think at the time, like, I was saying, no, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And
because they were making losses.
Yeah, I think so. And that's the thing, is like, I guess that's the same lesson we were talking about before, that starting to, for example, buy before that happens, like in the signs that it happens, because when you look back, a lot of times you could actually have got more gain.
Yeah.
And it's not that it'll always work out. Sometimes it could work, it may not work out, but it's something like that, like buying when it hasn't happened yet.
It's not sexy. The company is making losses.
Because the person, I think to this day, still like was like, up to probably last year, was like reminding me, like, or the year before, was like, oh, remember when I said I was gonna buy this and you told me no,
Yeah, because we were medicine CPJ at around $4. I remember I didn't enter until
I think I bought it like $6 or $7.
Yeah, it was between $6 and $7. I remember my average price just being a little bit lower than yours, and yours was like close to $7. And then that stock flew. I remember exiting. Pigs get slaughtered, and I remember that. And I exited at around, everything was sold at around $18. I remember some was sold at 14, some sold at 16. I was watching the queue because I had time at this. I remember I had time, so I could always watch the queue and say, how is this trading? So I said, all right, let me take profit here, because it was just doubled. I was like, yo, I'm up 100% on this play already. Let me take some profit. And then it kept going. And I was just like, okay, let me take a little bit more profit. But the queue was just strengthening. In fact, that stock flew to almost $25. That stock literally flew to $25. And I remember being upset that I sold everything at $18. But bro, how you upset when you're up like almost 150%? Like, why am I upset? I was pissed at myself, and I was like, yo, dog, the stock reached 25. I mean, I remember calling my dad. I was like, yo, daddy, the stock reached 25, Set at 18, Yo, I'm start ball, bro. I say honest. I never actually ball, but I was just pissed because you leave money on the
Wow.
table because he was in it too. And I remember
Oh.
making him buy at he bought at like $12 and he exited like $20. I was just like I was pissed at myself, and he didn't exit because he just never had the time to exit. I remember at that point I got his like I did the trade for him afterwards. He called me and was like, yo, just deal with this for me because he never had the time. He was working at that time, and I just dealt with it. But it's just like, yo, I was so upset. And now when I look back, I'm like, yo, were you spoiled, brother? Because yeah, I look for 100% play, and right now you can't get 100% play during this year. When I can't tell the last time I saw 100% play. It's been a long time since I've seen 100% play. So yeah, but that was heavy for me at the time, but it was a lesson I needed to learn. Yeah, it's the same with pigs get slaughtered, but it's a bit different where
the thing is,
I could
you're
have
like saying greed is
anticipated.
too.
What?
You're saying it's more, your lesson from that was greed. Like, don't be greedy.
No, I probably should have. So I think my analysis of where that peak is going to be could be better, because I think I didn't account at that time for all the hype, the Twitter hype that came with a lot of the stock too. There are a lot of people tweeting and talking about, and I didn't realize Twitter is I wouldn't say a huge part of the market, but retail investors are the reasons why that stock got pushed to the other side. You get me? So with such positive sentiment, the company's printing money and I think they paid a dividend too. I think I should have accounted for all of that to say, all right, yes, the stock can go that high. The sell queue was weak, I remember at the time, all the way up to 25, but I never wanted to take that risk.
Hindsight is 2020. Yo.
What?
The hindsight is 2020.
Hindsight.
Because you always want to. Well, it's hard sometimes, but try to judge decisions not based on the outcome, but based on what information you had at the time.
Real.
Because there's times where, okay, the outcome is not what you expected, but with the information you had at the time, you actually made a good decision. It's a decision that you should make with that information 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
true.
So,
and we were that was still heights of the pandemic, so people were still fearful. I was fearful.
One of the other lessons is, since you mentioned dividends, saying the growing or power of dividends.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes, like I just remember a few times, not that many times, but maybe like a few times last year, I just like go in my bank account, I just see money, and I'm just like, wait, what? And it's like, I didn't realize that there was actually a dividend being paid for this company, and then I was like, oh wow, that's actually nice. Like I could do something with this.
If you still get dividend checks, link your broker and be like, yo, give me a dividend mandate so that the funds just send directly to your bank account. Trust us, it's so much easier than dealing with checks, wasting paper, going to the bank, to the lodger. Nah, get that direct deposit, check it on your phone, get a dividend mandate, call your broker, signed Limitless. Because it looks nice. Yeah, man. Sometimes it pay for a little food, a little lunch outings,
Yeah, because when I look at even, I think this month I should be getting 2.
Yeah, real
2 dividends, and when I look at it,
you're supposed to be. Am I supposed to be getting 2 too?
I even end up catching at. Well, actually, I think. Well, technically 3. Like I ended up getting part of a SVL dividend. I didn't even.
Oh yes, that SPL play. Oh wow, 666. Tell us about SPL play.
SPL. Let me pull it up on my portfolio. So I bought SPL. Let me see.
You bought it.
I think maybe it was about 2 weeks. No, it was like 2. I started buying like 2 weeks ago. I want to pull up the dates and the price. I think it's about 2 weeks or so.
Have we released our SPL episode?
We haven't. What? We didn't do an SPL episode.
We haven't? Why I feel like we did an SPL episode.
We spoke about it in one of the upcoming ones. I don't know.
Maybe that's why. We should probably do an SPL episode though.
And buy cash pot that day. Yes, I bought, let me see, the first day I bought was the 6th of March. And I bought some the 14th of March at, oh, it kind of splits up the price you're buying at. So I bought some at 19, the first buy was at 1980.
Mm-hmm.
Or well, actually when you add fees, I think this is like $20. So I was buying at just like, yeah, I was basically buying at like $20. And I sold it at about just under $23. And I think that was about 15% in about 2 weeks. Yes, that's not bad. But I ended up,
Nice.
I think, catching a dividend date. So I actually get a small dividend.
Nice.
Yeah. I want to look at it. I can.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
I should send you how much. Actually, I should.
I like those little surprise dividends, you know, where you're not really
Yeah.
expecting a dividend too tough. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
but I own shares. And the
Yeah.
record
Because
date
that's the
is
thing.
here.
It wasn't like I guess I wasn't really buying them for the dividends. It was
Mm-hmm.
just I'm owning it at the time of the dividends. So
Brata.
yeah.
Yeah, man, that is it.
I was even wondering what I should do with the money. Do you have any
Oh,
dividends coming up?
pardon me? Yeah, I'm getting a couple dividends now that I met it. I know.
What do you usually do with the money? Like you reinvest it or
No, it just
just
sits in my
spend it?
bank account and I just do something else with
Oh,
it. Sometimes
mm,
I treat myself. I paid a bill
oh,
once with a dividend. I usually just
okay.
buy something, if I'm being honest. I spend the cash.
Uh,
I don't think
mm-hmm,
I've ever reinvested a dividend. Some people
mm,
might be like, "Oh, yo, that's bad," but I'm just like, bro, I'm invest to spend the money. Like a lot of the money I've invested, I've spent and made back and spent and made back. The
mm-hmm,
money is there to be used.
mm-hmm,
So dividends for
mm-hmm.
me though, they're not as
What's the biggest dividend?
I mean I said that. I'm definitely not saying that. Not on air. But I've gotten
It's
a
just me,
decent
bro.
little dividend one. I took babes out on a date with that dividend. I'll never forget that. Yeah, man. That was a good little dividend. A nice food. Trust, a
Mm-hmm.
nice food.
I was thinking that we haven't gone to dim sum in a while.
Oh yeah, it's been a long time. Well,
Mm.
dividend coming up. Can probably take me to them some, yes. Yeah, man. I mean, but Indies is it Indies that have a dividend coming up. Let's see, supposed to do a little
Mm.
dividend thing too. So I have a
Mm.
couple coming up.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, the another thing I think I learned and I continue to learn is, trying to always link the what you want with or your goal with what you're doing, or to make sure that, hey, to get this that you expect, you're actually doing the right thing, or you're doing a thing that with the information you have available right now, it is likely to happen.
Yeah.
So even I could even talk about like greed, like even with the STL one, I was wondering if I was almost too greedy,
How
but
so?
I think in terms of the price I was selling at, I should have sold lower
But
because I
you didn't
yeah,
get everything out?
no, I did. I'm just saying that when I used the information that I had at the time, it was almost like I was cutting it to the line when I shouldn't have, because I'm just thinking if that were to continue to happen like the next time, 9 times out of 10 or something like that, it's like what I'm saying.
You got
What I
lucky
say,
a bit.
it's yeah, definitely, but it's even just marginal
So yeah,
safety.
definitely. No questions asked.
So it's like, okay, what would I say? So if you're buying, it's the same thing with like, I guess you'd say weak ton. I'm just learning to be sometimes more conservative. Okay, instead of having, okay, say the stock was at $1 and we're saying, oh, I think it could be a $1.50 stock, right? So you think, oh, it would actively be traded at that price. It's like, or it could increase by 50%. So it's like, maybe I should actually sell it below
Yeah.
that then. And okay, maybe what I need to do is actually even buy it earlier. So okay, if I don't think it will go to the $1 to 140, but I think it could go $1 to 130. If there's a way I could get it at 90 cents or whatever I can, So it's even trying to be more conservative sometimes. And I think one of the ways you can get more conservative is being investing in things earlier. There are certain stuff where I literally was looking ahead. Like I was like, okay, 1 year from now, if these things were to get announced, it could be at that price. So instead of waiting for those things and then buying, even though sometimes that actually does work out, it's even like timing, you know, because there are times where information comes out now and you should buy, or there's times where, okay, information is coming out, but you need to know how to buy. You know, you need to, okay, buy slowly, like buy a little piece every few days or so. That's not even something that I wish there was a way to automate that, like a broker allowed you to like dollar cost average or automatically set orders of certain size. Like every day you could put a $5,000 order. I would really love a broker to do that, because I'm even like starting to realize, well, I told you that, like, for example, I've been kind of, I deleted Telegram from my phone, right?
No.
Oh, I didn't tell you?
Yeah, I thought you were just wasting time.
Yeah, so what I was saying was that I'm even taking an approach in terms of my investing style now. You have to always try to make sure that the way you're investing is adjusted to like your lifestyle or your time availability. Even things like setting up reminders and certain, like for example, with the tomorrow, do you know what this or what happens tomorrow on the market?
Tomorrow is April 4.
Mm-hmm.
So many things happen on the market tomorrow, but you're talking probably Transjam?
No, I was saying Atlantic, I think is supposed to list tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think that will be interesting. But what I would say is that even something like that, I think, could be an opportunity.
When do the
Because
shares hit for?
probably likely tonight or early tomorrow morning.
No, not Atlantic, Transjam.
It's already hit. It's already hit.
Okay.
You hit from
Stay
like
all
2
that,
or 3
bro.
days ago. Well,
3 days ago.
I think it was, yeah, I think it was something like that.
Oh, yes, I remember when it traded down to $3.70. How did I forget
It
that?
did?
Yes. Yeah, it traded down to $3.70 something. I remember that day. Yes.
I was just, I don't even
Let me
remember what was
actually pull up Transjam, but
I don't remember what my point was. You remember what my point was?
no idea what your point was.
Remember?
But you're talking about what was happening
Atlantic.
on the market.
And I was saying like in terms of my time and, okay, with my time and what I'm kind of doing within my life and stuff, I'm trying to, you know, block out time. And because I felt like when I got my new phone, and this was one of the reasons why I didn't really want a new phone, because I was like, okay, if I go and spend some money on this, I'm gonna like start using it and I'm gonna do this on it and wasting time and playing game. Look at me playing on me boning Clash of Clans with Dundas and Justin, and I say, yo dog, the attack is base dog, like yeah. So that's why I said I deleted Telegram off my phone, because I want to say I can have a little less distraction. So if you're reaching out to me, it's gonna be harder to get me on that. And even just trying to put up my phone in like a different, like I used to put it up in like my closet. I don't know if you remember, I used to do that.
Yeah, you're
I used
weird,
to do
bro.
that kind of crazy, but I had to stop.
You used to do that.
I guess I kind of had to stop because of different like responsibilities and whatever. But it's like I don't think I'll ever be able to go back to that point. But do you remember like the night of, what was it, that night where we got our final year results for, or like our MBBS results, like if we passed and became doctors and stuff?
Yeah.
I think I had like turned off my phone, right? Or something. I think I turned it
nobody
off or
could
something.
get
I was
you.
like, I'm just go to bed, because like we were staying up late, and then it's like we weren't getting the grades or whatever.
I remember that.
I think you called my mom or something?
Yeah, because I'm like, yo, it's pressed on dead. Like, why is this guy not answered?
Yeah.
It's the night, you know?
So I used to be able to kind of block out stuff like that, but
I can't do that anymore either. You remember the first time I downloaded
But it's a different degree. You can't do it to that degree anymore.
Yeah, I can't do it to that degree. Like I remember, so Focus to Do, you made me download that. That was a Pomodoro app, and that could whitelist certain apps, or you could block out certain apps from. Well, you can't even use your phone. Like as soon as you pick it up, it either alarms or stops or something like that. And nowadays, I can't do that because I am also using. So if I'm doing a Pomodoro on a task, which is
what is a Pomodoro? We should probably explain.
Oh, it's just like a set focus. It's a time. You time box
Mm-hmm.
like to focus basically. So you're focusing on a task, on a project, on
Like
something,
reading.
whatever you want to do. If
Mm-hmm.
it's like, researching, doing homework, those kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, you time box it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's usually in small time increments. So the average Pomodoro length is, I think, 25 minutes. And then
Mm-hmm.
you take a break right after that. You get up,
Mm-hmm.
drink some water, walk around a bit for
Walk,
like
yeah.
5 minutes, and then you get back and you're into it. Right. And for me, it's like that gives you those bursts of focus, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't get super drained and bogged down after a while. So the Pomodoro method is how Preston and I studied
Mm-hmm.
throughout med school.
Mm-hmm.
I remember um, you put the app on my phone and you whitelist it. Basically, anytime I use my phone, it would just like shut off or something like that, or it would just block off everything. I couldn't use my phone during the Pomodoro.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to enter the password and so on. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized I can't really do that now. While that was
Mm-hmm.
very useful back then, the amount of
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities we have when I'm doing certain tasks and I actually need to either WhatsApp somebody,
Mm-hmm.
because having WhatsApp on my computer, I do use it sometimes, but it
Mm-hmm.
can also get distracting. So keeping WhatsApp just on my phone alone is also productive for me, but I still have to use it, and you can still get distracted. So
Mm-hmm.
things have changed. You pick up more responsibilities. So the way you invest your time, your money, all of those things, I also agree with you. Where
Mm-hmm.
investing is personal, you have to invest. Your strategy has to be based on your lifestyle.
I just remember the point now
Mm-hmm.
because I was saying that, okay, people talk about the, would you say, shorter term plays or shorter time period. So you're getting higher, decent return in a short time period. So I guess definition, someone could say a week, maybe a month, hours, a few days or whatever. So it's not, and you don't necessarily have to sit by the computer every day or watch it 24/7 or watch the market constantly to necessarily make those kind of returns. Like there's ways that you can make returns doing that, but it's not the only way. So I have been more recently trying to, take certain opportunities, and I think I am working on a way that I can do that with my time or do it in a very efficient manner. So I've been trying to use things like reminders, my
Yeah.
calendar,
Yeah.
and things like that. And so I'm gonna say, I mean, so far it has actually worked out. I'm still kind of working on my system and stuff.
Same.
And yeah, I think that even just every day I'm kind of, even today I was thinking of a new way I could kind of set up a system thing and start doing some analysis and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I, yeah, definitely think, so you just have to know your, know what your goal is, and then understand what's the best way to get there.
Yeah.
So you can have a short-term goal or a short-term, like you say, 10% in a month. But you actually have to look at, okay, what kind of things can do that? What kind of things that can do that repeatedly or in a certain confidence level? What if I need 20%? What kind of, so it's, but then, okay, can I sit down at the computer and do it? Okay, no, then this is what's best for me. I need to do this or I need to do that. So I'd say, yeah, there's just a lot of opportunities on the market this year. If there's any market predictions, I think this year is going to be interesting year. I think even just starting off, there have been Transjam offer for sale came out, and then Atlantic listed or is about to list. What else? I think there's talks about West Indies Petroleum Energy to possibly list. I think Tropical is planning an additional public offering this month, I think. Energy, I think, wanted to do an IPO. So there are a lot of raises going on this year, or planned or talked about going on.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna definitely be, and even just bankruptcies or talks of bankruptcies or those stuff. So far, I think it's gonna be I think this year is gonna be interesting. I'm seeing a lot of opportunities. I
Yeah,
wish I
definitely.
had more money, and as I say, I wish I had that tool that could, if someone could like build a tool where it could buy slowly for you in a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
that would be, or maybe I should even try.
Maybe.
But yeah.
Maybe. But very wise words. Very wise words, Preston. I think we on this journey is just to continuously learn and improve. Because you say even speaking about your system, for me, I think that, and you say you're working on your system now, but we're always going to be working on
Mhm.
our system as new technologies come out, as AI improves, as certain things just, come to light. Our system will constantly be evolving. The way we invest, because the market is evolutionary. The way we invested, or people invested 10 years ago, isn't the way people invest now.
Mhm.
So it's to always be doing research, always be improving your knowledge, always be watching out for market trends, market cycles, right? And its practical applications and so on. So point is, we're always students. We're always gonna be learning new things. So, for me,
Mhm.
it's always to carve out a lot of time to be able to do that research, which is difficult, right? Because you
Mhm.
have a ton of other competing things.
Mhm.
I always have a ton of other competing things, but it's always to carve out
Mhm.
time to do the reading, to do the research, and to
Mhm.
make those decisions. Because at the end of the day, that's how we go from 0 to 1. So, yeah, limitless
0 to
gains.
limitless.
Limitless gains. I think that's an excellent way to end this conversation. It's gone on way longer than I thought. I just realized. But
Mhm.
I just want to leave everybody with, I guess, this is just our heartfelt gratitude, because we wouldn't be here without you guys. So we really do appreciate each and every one of you. If you've liked, commented, subscribed, shared, and if you've done any of those, or even if you just sit down and listen to us chatting, we
Mhm.
appreciate you. Thank you so much. Limitless out.
Peace.